Hello viewers, I'm Rohit Khurana, your host on Intellect Digest, and in this video we compare 4 mighty phones with 1.5 GHz MediaTek processor, turbo chipset. These 4 are popular phones from respective brands. First we have the Gionee Elife E6 with us. Next we have the Micromax Canvas Turbo, the Zen Ultrafone 701 Full HD, and the Gionee Elife E5. These 4 phones have one thing in common. That is the MediaTek 6589T chipset, which is the turbo processor clocked at 1.5 GHz. They also have the same graphics processing unit or GPU, which is the Parvier SGX 554MP, and they have the same Android version 4.2 as well. There are a lot of commonalities among these 4 phones. Let us find out which fits your needs the best and which one you should buy. They have some price difference and they are in fact arranged in the same order. The Gionee Elife E6. The Gionee Elife E6 retails between rupees 20 to 22,000. The Micromax Canvas Turbo retails between 18 to 20,000 rupees. The Zen Ultrafone Amaze is retailed between 17 to 18,000 rupees. And Gionee Elife E5 is around 15,000 rupees in India. We'll talk about the features, specification, benchmarks, gaming performance, camera performance, as well as build quality of all these phones, and tell you which one is the best for you, for your needs, or which one you should pick up or you should buy. Out of these 4, the first 3 phones are full high definition, including the Gionee Elife E6, the Micromax Canvas Turbo, and the Zen Amaze 701 Full HD, whereas the E5 is a high definition 720p display, not a 1080p display, but it is the only AMOLED display among these 4 phones that we see here. The other 3 are LCD IPS displays, with the Gionee Elife E6 being the most sophisticated OGS solution among all these 4 phones that we see here. Starting with the form factor and build quality comparison, the Gionee Elife E6 is probably one of the most interesting design in this series. It looks very sleek, very premium. The one we have is in black and is matte finished. It looks very nice. The edges are sharp when it comes to design, but they are not as sharp that will hurt you. The corners are rounded over here and the design looks sophisticated and simple. The UI has also been customized to give you certain extra functionalities. The lock screen gives you quick access to certain applications like the camera, voice recording, torch, and you can quickly unlock by swiping up here. The user interface has also been customized. This is called Amigo user interface, in which there is no app drawer and all the icons are put here. You can change the user interface to custom by using any custom launcher like we have seen just right now here. We have installed Nova launcher. We can switch between the launchers. It is fairly slim at 7.9mm, giving you a quick hardware tour. There are 3 touch capacitive buttons at the front with 5-inch full high definition display. There is a front facing 5-megapixel camera. On the right you have a volume rocker. On the top you have a power wake up key followed by a 3.5mm audio jack on the top. On the left side there is a SIM card tray. This is a single SIM device. On the bottom you have speaker grill, primary microphone hole, and a micro USB port for charging as well as data transfer. On the rear you get a 13-megapixel camera unit followed by an LED flash, and there is secondary mic hole for noise cancellation. It is fairly plain and the speakers are nicely placed at the bottom, so the sound does not get muffled unlike many other phones. Moving on to the Micromax Canvas Turbo, it is 8.6mm in thickness. Again, a very nice design, unibody structure. The back does not come off, and it has the power and volume rocker keys on the right hand side. The top has the micro USB port for charging as well as data transfer. The left side is fairly clean with 2 SIM card slots here which have the pin holes, so you have to insert the pins. See the detailed review in the links provided in the description below. The primary microphone hole is down here with this 3.5mm audio jack which is placed at the bottom. Oddly, a new design. The front has a 5-inch full high definition display, again with 3 touch capacitive buttons below it, and there is a 5-megapixel front facing camera, few sensors which allow you to use gestures just like you get in the Gionee Elife E6. On the back you get a 13-megapixel shooter followed by an LED flash, and there is secondary mic hole for noise cancellation. There is Micromax branding and the speaker grill is provided here. The sound tends to get muffled if you place it on a surface just like this, but otherwise the speakers sound good. They have loud and good sound clarity. Talking of the Zen Ultrafone Amaze 701 Full HD, this is the most different looking phones among these 4 phones that we have here. It has the same 5-inch display, but the kind of form and the build quality that it has, it sets it apart. It also has the rounded edges that you see. There is a 5-inch display with full high definition. And there is an 8 megapixel unit at front, which is the highest among these four phones that we see here. There are 3 touch capacitive buttons at the bottom. There are few sensors next to the earpiece that you can see over here. On the back you have a 13 megapixel shooter with an LED flash. There is a speaker down here on the back. Again, it tends to get muffled when you put it on the flat surface. There is primary mic hole down here in the indent on the bezel. There is a lining running all around, and in this case we have a removable battery. The back comes off. The battery capacity is again the same as we see on all other phones. This is 2000 milliampere hour battery. This is a dual SIM device and it accepts 2 SIM cards, and this one comes with an expandable memory. There is a memory card slot which is not there on any of other 3 phones. The highest memory capacity is offered by the Gionee Elife E6, which is 32 GB. Rest all 3 come with 16 GB internal memory, but there is expandable memory on Zen 701. The Canvas Turbo as well as the Zen 701 Full HD are dual SIM, while the Ellife E6 and E5 both are single SIM devices. Let's place it back. Another interesting feature of this phone is that there is texture at the back and Corning Gorilla Glass coating at the back as well as front, so it won't scratch easily. Moving on to the slimmest in this category, the 6.85mm Ellife E5 with a Super AMOLED high definition 720p display is very different from other phones. This looks very sporty in very vibrant colors. This is again a unibody structure. Unlike the other 3 phones, this one has a lower resolution 720p display, but it does not look bad at all. The colors are very vibrant and it looks very good even from the steep angles. You can see the darkness levels of an AMOLED display, or the contrast ratio is much better than the LCD IPS displays that you get on other phones. It also has a sleek unibody design. There is a front 5 megapixel camera, 3 touch capacitive buttons at the bottom. The right side has a micro USB port for charging as well as data transfer. You get a micro SIM card slot on the right hand side. On the left hand side you have volume rocker as well as a power or wake up key in the middle, and on the bottom it is again clean. The mic indent is provided inside the bezel just here, and on the top you get a standard 3.5mm audio jack. On the rear you get an 8 megapixel shooter. This is the lowest among all these 4. So you get 8 megapixel rear camera and all other phones get 13 megapixel. There is secondary mic hole for noise cancellation. The build of this phone looks most interesting with a unibody polycarbonate shell, and it feels very solid and sturdy with the Super AMOLED display. And interestingly, this is among the lowest priced phones among all these 4. Let's talk about the display properties of these 4 phones. I have taken a picture with my DSLR camera and put the same file on all these 4 phones, and I have put them side by side for your comparison. Starting with the Gionee Elife E6, you can see the picture looks very clear. The colors look very natural and clear and vibrant. The display is very clean and nice. Coming next to the Micromax Canvas Turbo, the colors are good and natural. The picture looks sharp and clear. The viewing angles are also good. It is very close to Gionee Elife E6. With the Gionee Elife E6 having an OGS solution, the clarity of display is slightly better than the Canvas Turbo, followed by the Zen Amaze 701 Full HD, which also gives nice and clear colors. Moving on next to the Gionee Elife E5, the colors seem slightly unnatural here. They are more orangish. As you can see, they are oversaturated colors. If you compare it with other 3 phones, the same picture looks to be orangish and oversaturated on the AMOLED display on the Gionee Elife E5. But all these phones give very good display properties when it comes to viewing pictures. After we see the display quality, let us also talk about the graphics benchmarks or graphics performance of all these 4 phones. We have tested the graphics benchmarks using the Nina Mark II test. We have got varying result on these phones. Starting with the Gionee Elife E6, we get 34.2 frames per second on the Nina Mark II. Interestingly, all these 4 phones have the same PowerVR SGX 554MP. The first 3 phones run on full high definition 1920 by 1080 display resolution. The same score is seen on the Micromax Canvas Turbo, which also uses the same GPU, so it is 34 frames per second, more or less the same. When it comes to the 701 Full HD, we see lower frame rates over here with the same display resolution. This is probably because of improper optimization of graphics when it comes to 701 Full HD. So we see it has the lowest graphic properties, and interestingly, with a lower display resolution, the same GPU does much better frame rates on the Gionee Elife E5. You must notice that the display resolution here is lower, which is 1280 by 720, so it puts much less load on the GPU, and thus it gives 55.2 frames per second, which is very good for gaming. So if you're a gamer and looking for a phone and not very much bothered by the difference of HD and Full HD display, in this price segment the Gionee Elife E5 may suit the best for gamers if you're looking for a sleek gaming phone compared to all other three phones that we have here. In terms of graphics properties, the Gionee Elife E6 as well as the Micromax Canvas Turbo come very close, followed by the Gionee Elife E5, which is so far the best but has lower resolution, followed by the Amaze 70 Full HD, which comes last with a score of around 27 frames per second. Talking about the benchmark performance of these four phones, you will be amazed that they are very close to each other, and it is no surprise they all use the same processor and almost same hardware configuration. They are all powered by the MediaTek 6589 turbo processor, which is clocked at 1.5 GHz. The Gionee Elife E6 gives us a score of 15,294, followed by the Micromax Canvas Turbo 15,065. Next we have the Zen 701 Full HD at 15,530, and the highest score that we get is on the Gionee Elife E5, which comes at 15,764. One interesting fact about these four phones is that the first two phones have 2 GB of RAM, whereas the other two phones have 1 GB of RAM, and interestingly they are scoring even better than other two which have more RAM. When we talked to the Zen technology team about the usage of 1 GB RAM instead of 2, they told us that the MediaTek chipset 6589 is better optimized to use only up to 1 GB RAM. Anything extra may not be well utilized by the chipset, which is why we see there is an evident difference. Even with the low RAM, these phones are able to score more on the synthetic AnTuTu benchmarks, which we see over here. Talking of specification of each of these phones in brief, the Gionee Elife E6 comes with 1.5 GHz quad-core processor, 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB internal memory. Canvas Turbo comes with 1.5 GHz quad-core processor, 2 GB RAM, 16 GB internal memory. Both have fixed internal memory. The 701 Full HD Amaze comes with 1.5 GHz quad-core processor, 1 GB RAM, 16 GB internal memory, and it has expandable memory using a micro SD card slot. The Gionee Elife E5 comes with the same 1.5 GHz quad-core processor, 1 GB of RAM, 16 GB internal memory, and the memory is not expandable. There is no micro SD card slot on the Elife E5, just like the Elife E6 and the Micromax Canvas Turbo. To test the camera performance on these four phones, we just clicked a picture of this object with all these phones one by one without using flash, and here are the results that we see on these four phones. This is the picture taken with the Gionee Elife E6. The clarity is good, the colors are natural, and the picture has come out to be very sharp. Moving on next to the Micromax Canvas Turbo, the colors are more saturated, it looks more vibrant, and the picture has come out really clear. Moving on to the next, the 701 Amaze Full HD, the picture again has come out to be very clean and clear. And moving on to the E5 with Super AMOLED display, the colors look prettiest and very close to the real object which we have here, and I'll just show you. So out of these four cameras, we get very good pictures with all of them. The first three are 13 megapixel cameras and the last one is 8 megapixel, and interestingly the display, which is an AMOLED display on the E5, makes the picture look the prettiest. And all these four phones are very capable when it comes to the rear camera. The front camera on all these phones are also good. The first two phones have 5 megapixel front camera units, whereas the Zen Amaze comes with 8 megapixel front camera, and the Elife E5 again comes with 5 megapixel full HD front camera. The camera application on all these phones come loaded with special features like the panorama, smile shot, beauty shot, etc. And all these four phones come with interesting features when it comes to still photos as well as video recording. I have put the same audio track on all these four phones, turned the volume to maximum, and I'll give you a comparison of the speakers on these and how they sound. First start with the Gionee Elife E6, which comes with DTS surround sound system. So I'll play the track first on this one. The DTS surround sound makes the sound really good, and the speakers are firing from the bottom here, so there is no muffling of sound even when I put it on the flat surface just like this. Let's move to the Canvas Turbo now. On Canvas Turbo, the same track sounds very loud with the rear speaker, but when I put it down, the speaker gets muffled and the volume goes much lower. Moving on next to 701 Amaze Full HD. The sound is clear, is loud, and the speaker is placed at the back. Again, when I put it on the surface, it becomes very low in loudness. Moving on next to the Gionee Elife E5. It is probably the loudest of all four, and again the speaker mesh is down here, so it has the same problem. If I put it on the flat surface, the sound tends to get muffled. So in terms of speakerphone sound quality, with DTS surround sound, the sound is clearest on the E6 as well as E5, but from the design perspective, the Elife E6 is the best with the speakers placed at the bottom. When it comes to battery life, all the four phones come equipped with a 2000 mAh battery, which should give equivalent talk time on all these, but the Gionee Elife E5 has the lowest display resolution and the lowest size screens and AMOLED display, which should consume lesser battery compared to the other three with full high definition display. Again, the heartbeat synchronization technology put in by Gionee on the Gionee Elife E6 also optimizes on the battery life, so the battery life will be slightly higher on the E6 as well as E5, whereas the other two phones, the Micromax Canvas Turbo as well as the 701 Full HD from Zen, also give decent battery life. If you're a moderate user, the battery life should last for one full day. When it comes to video playback quality, all these four phones display good clarity as well as sound when it comes to video consumption, but the first three phones, the Gionee Elife E6, Micromax Canvas Turbo and Amaze 701 Full HD, they all have gesture feature in which they pause the video automatically when you look away from the screen. This feature is inbuilt in these three phones, whereas this Elife E5 misses out on this feature, but it also has good color reproduction with the AMOLED display that it has on the offer. Summing up our comparison of these four phones, the Gionee Elife E6 comes very close to the top with 32 GB internal memory, which is highest in the lot, and gesture features like the hand gesture which it offers, which other phones do not offer or offer partially. The Gionee Elife E6 stands out also in terms of accessories that comes bundled. It comes with a leather flip cover which looks very smart and premium. It also gets two screen protectors and in the earphones. Moving on to the Micromax Canvas Turbo, it also does not disappoint and gives us very good performance. So far the best that we have seen from Micromax on their phones. It gives a very good display, very good overall performance, 16 GB internal memory which may fall short in some cases, and the memory is not expandable. Comes second on our comparison. The in-the-ear earphones provide good sound quality, but there are no pouches, screen protection or flip covers which are bundled. The 701 Full HD is again very interesting proposition, comes very close to the vanilla Android experience. It does not put too much customization, gives you very good user experience in a very premium build quality. Some plus points of the 701 Full HD is the expandable memory, dual SIM free case which is bundled for an introductory offer. With the lower RAM 1 GB, it still manages to do very well neck to neck competition with other phones, but on the flip side the graphics performance is lower, so it is not suitable for high-end gaming. Moving on to the Gionee Elife E5, which is the most inexpensive one among these four, has the clearest display. It has AMOLED display which sometimes tend to be oversaturated, but it gives the really sleek and slim form factor. It is one of the most favorite phones that we have found among these four. The display resolution is among the lowest, but the performance as well as gaming performance comes out to be best, along with good audio and video qualities. The Gionee Elife E5 also gets bundled flip cover, which is a leather flip cover, and screen protectors which come right out of the box, and it also gets in the earphones just like the other three phones. If you are looking for a fully loaded phone which looks sophisticated, you should go for E6. If you are looking for a fully loaded phone which comes at a good price and build quality, you can consider the Micromax Canvas Turbo. And the 701 Amaze Full HD. If you are looking for a gaming device which comes for not such a high price tag, the Gionee Elife E5 may just be perfect. It looks sporty and goes well with the sporty character people who look for something fun to play with, whereas the Ellife E6 goes more with the business and the sophisticated needs. It looks much more classy and gives you much better look, followed by the Micromax Canvas Turbo and the Zen 701 Full HD. So if I have to rank these four phones based on the overall rating and the value for money that we get, the Gionee Elife E6 stand first, followed by the 701 Full HD as well as the Micromax Canvas Turbo at second, whereas the Gionee Elife comes third only because it is with a lower resolution display. But if you consider from pure gaming perspective, this comes better than other three phones that we have here. This is all we have on a comprehensive comparison between the Gionee Elife E6 Micromax Canvas Turbo 701 Full HD Amaze from Zen and Gionee Elife E5. We hope you like this comparison. Don't forget to press the like button below. If you want to get more such informative video updates from us, don't forget to subscribe by pressing the subscribe button. This is your host Rohit Khurana signing off. Thanks for watching.